Burgin Streetman is a writer and artist currently pursuing an MFA in fiction at Texas State University after 30 years working in books and publishing, most recently as the assistant director of Trinity University Press. Woo! She lives in San Antonio, Texas, by way of New York, Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida. Welcome, Burgin.
Okay. What's my story? Well, this is me, right there in the middle, surrounded by the first 3 teachers I ever had. My sister Drake, who taught me how to ride a bike and read me Stephen King novels at night, and my sister Leah, who helped me learn how to be a grown-up. And right there in the middle is my mother Sally, who taught me empathy, how to be an artist, and pretty much everything else. The first actual teacher I remember having a huge impact on me was my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Carter. We read Flannery O'Connor's A Good Man Is Hard to Find aloud in her class and acted the whole thing out, and it profoundly changed how I saw the written word. It's still my all-time favorite piece of literature because of that one afternoon in 1984. She was also the first teacher to ask me to write creatively. She put a can of blue paint on her desk and asked us to write a story about it. It could be anything we wanted, so I wrote a story creatively entitled The Can of Blue Paint, about a can of blue paint filled with thousands of tiny people. She taught me that you can create something magical out of something completely ordinary. Then when there was my honors English teacher in high school, Mr. McCracken, who was part mermaid, part Hemingway, he introduced me to Kurt Vonnegut, Kerouac, Toni Morrison, and most importantly, this guy, Walt Whitman. This book, this very physical copy of this book right here, was the first time I read something where I thought the author was speaking directly to me. Now, by that age, I was already interested in theater, and the writing and the stage started to come together. I was journaling and writing poems every day, and eventually I wanted to be like my hero, Spalding Gray, and write one-woman shows. So after graduation, I headed to theater school, but ended up dropping out because of a lack of money, and that's when I met my next teacher, New York. I moved here with my sister in 1992. It was freezing and we couldn't afford the subway, so I had to wrap my feet in saran wrap and Vaseline to stay warm. My first job was as a busgirl at a place called Boogie's Diner, and I had to wear a shirt that said, "I pick boogies." I told myself that I was going to write and audition for theater gigs and work at a bookstore, which I did. Doubleday was my college. It was right across the street from Tiffany's on 5th Avenue. My boss, Ed, taught me everything I know about bookselling, and I read every book in the fiction section. I was the personal bookseller to Imelda Marcos. I got invited to book parties and got to meet people like Styron and Ralph Ellison and Kurt Vonnegut. It was an English nerd's dream. My sister and I had a 1-bedroom apartment in Hell's Kitchen, rent stabilized at $650 a month. We never had any money. We ate $1 boxes of Little Debbie cakes for dinner, and that first year I made $13,000, but it didn't matter. We were young, we were living in New York, and I'm totally idealizing, but that's okay, because that's what you can do with memory. In the evening, I do experimental theater way, way, way off Broadway at places like Nada and the Knitting Factory and St. Mark's Place. I wrote one-woman shows. I did poetry slams at the New York Poets Cafe. I tell a story about a performance where I rolled around naked in cornflakes in front of Yoko Ono, but that might only be partially true. Eventually, my day job turned into my real job, and I got hired into the Barnes & Noble home office, where I worked for the vice president of children's books. From there, I published books for the Muppets, and eventually became the director of marketing and publicity for Artisan Books, where I worked with celebrity chefs like Thomas Keller, all without a college degree, which I never mentioned to anyone. Then I met this guy, Bill from San Antonio. Life is made up of so many little moments, little split-second decisions you make. And I often look back at all the opportunities I missed because I was too naive to know better. But there was one night when this guy kissed me on a bar stool in Chelsea and asked me to move back to Texas with him and fix up his family's farm. And I'm so glad that I said yes. We packed up, we sold all the books we owned, which was a lot. We took 7 months backpacking through 16 countries, Egypt, Cambodia, Vietnam, Australia, Tanzania, and then we moved into a 200-year-old farmhouse on 140 acres in Bulverde with no plumbing or electricity. It didn't take us long to make it livable because Bill did all the work himself to make it a home. From there, I blogged, I wrote stories for local papers, I worked for Gary DeBerry Cootie. Tess, Frank, and Trish taught me so much about how to run a business with empathy. And that was the only time I ever lied about not going to college. I never had to lie because, honestly, nobody ever asked me. But the first week, Tess offhandedly said, "Oh, when did you graduate?" And I lied. And it bothered me so much that a few weeks later, I eventually told her. And while I was working at GDC, I met the greatest teacher of all, my son, August. He's taught me about birds and music and patience. I've made a lot of the same mistakes my mother made raising me, but it only allows me to empathize with her more. Raising him helped me get to know myself, and he taught me about holding on to things you love, but even more about letting go. When my son was in the second grade, I got recruited to work at Trinity University Press, and for 12 years, I worked with these amazing people, Stephanie, Bridget, Sarah, Leanne, Sarah Moser, Rain, and we marketed and edited books that became national bestsellers, books about Texas and San Antonio, and we got to foster books that were locally written that nobody else would have published otherwise. One of the best benefits about working at Trinity is that you get to take classes for free. And at first, I was too embarrassed to go back to school. My boss knew I hadn't finished college, but I was worried what the professors would think. And the first person I told was Kelly Carlisle, who immediately made me feel like a rock star. So for 9 years, I took one class a semester from Kelly, Dr. Randu, Andrew Porter, Jenny Brown, Michael Fisher. And while I inched along majoring in English and minoring in creative writing, I minored in photography. Under Professor Andrew Schreiber, I fell in love with photographing people. Adam was the first teacher who ever in my whole life told me that I was an artist. And if you've ever struggled with not feeling validated, that is huge. I'd always had this fear that I had sold out to a day job, that I wasn't an artist or a writer because I wasn't making a living doing it. I spent my professional career lifting up other artists. But the thing is, while life was happening to me, I was an artist the whole time. There were teachers all along the way. There was Pam, who taught me how to quilt, and Scott and Michael, who taught me how to throw poetry. There was Tom Noonan in New York, who taught me how to write a screenplay, though I've never sold one. Beverly D'Onofrio, who mentored me through zillions of words that I've never been paid for. And the friends I've made here who've taught me how to be a mother and build community and protest gun violence. And my first San Antonio friend, Sean, who taught me how to show up for people and what bravery against cancer looks like. My friend Sean, who was the last person I saw right before I walked across this stage almost a year ago, at 52 years old, and graduated summa cum laude from this life-changing place. Something 18-year-old ADHD-addled me could have never done. I'm currently an MFA student in fiction at Texas State University. I've written a few novels, and I will probably write a few more before it's over. And even if I never sell one, I will always be a writer. As an artist, I'll always be a teacher. Well, technically, I'm only a teaching assistant, but if there's one thing I can teach you right now, it's don't ever stop believing in yourself, no matter how old or unimportant you feel, or no matter how undereducated you feel. And don't ever stop learning and sharing what you know. And the next time at your party, like Bria was saying, instead of asking somebody what they do as if what we do for a living exemplifies who we are, ask them what their story is, and you might be surprised.
Oh my goodness. I did not know that. Congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
Wow, that is an incredible story. So I'm curious, having been on both sides as a staff member working at Trinity and then being a Trinity student, what surprised you about the Trinity student experience?
The main thing about coming to school here is just how important the liberal arts are, and I saw that every single day as a student, as a teacher. I saw these kids' minds light up with these ideas they'd never thought of before, and it's such a privilege and rarefied air to get to have this experience that it really should just be free for everybody, everywhere. I mean, it's really it's really a shame.
Yeah, wow. And especially Trinity. I mean, Trinity is such a unique place to study. The environment here was one that I found very encouraging to not just be pigeonholed into, you have to do this one area of study, but to just keep saying yes to things that piqued your interest and keep exploring. And also, I can totally resonate with what you said about Dr. Carlisle. She is a wonderful cheerleader. And so you also mentioned that you have written several books.
Yes.
Can you tell us about, I know it's like picking a favorite child,
Yeah, no.
but can you tell us about a favorite?
I secretly have a book on Amazon that is under a pen name because it's so bad. I would never want anyone to know I wrote it. So I'm not telling you what it is. And then I have a book that's kind of like a fictionalized version of my childhood. And then I'm writing another book that's a fictionalized version of my son's childhood here in San Antonio.
Ooh, wow. Very exciting. And can we find these? Where can we find these?
Nowhere. Like in my brain.
Well, and also the ones you've already written.
Well, no, they're still, no, I'm just kidding. You can find them on my desk at home under a whole bunch of homework. That's where they are.
Also thinking about, there's a common thread of travel in a lot of the stories we've heard tonight, and moving and creating a new home and a new place. And so in all the places that you've lived, why Texas?
Where is he? That guy right there? I also love it too. Like, I have so many New York friends that got lured down here by men and tacos from New York. And there's like a stream of them you can see like coming across Highway 10.
Interesting. My partner lives in New York, but I don't think the tacos are gonna, I don't think I'm gonna lure him with the tacos, unfortunately. One can try, I guess. Okay, your jazz prescription, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So, drummer Dan Weiss, he released an album titled Unclassified Affections. And the album title is actually taken from a passage found in the Virginia Woolf novel To the Lighthouse. And the passage reads, "He was not in love, of course. It was one of those unclassified affections, of which there are so many." And the tune I've chosen for you is actually one of my favorites from the album, titled Perfection's Loneliness.
That's perfect, because I actually have to write a presentation on To the Lighthouse, and my professor's here tonight, Lindsay Stern, so I'll be working on it as soon as I leave here.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful.